Hi everybody, thanks for joining the session. For those of you who are in person, I appreciate you being here at 4 o'clock on what's been a long day for some of us, me certainly, and I'm sure you, and you've I'm sure seen lots of PowerPoint. So we're going to spend some time in PowerPoint here on a session which of course is Sentinel. We're also going to spend a bunch of time in demo, and then we're going to figure out how to break the rules and actually get you guys asking us a bunch of questions. So there'll be at least 10 minutes for questions, so feel free to heckle us with all the important questions that you have, and I'll bring some folks up on stage to go do that. Probably should do by way of introduction. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Scott Woodgate, and actually joined with me is a group of folks, but Preeti will be coming up to do our demo sections shortly. So as you have seen today in the news, or yesterday in the news, and then today again in the keynote, it's a really exciting time to be a customer of Sentinel, a really, really exciting time. We're really taking the next step in the journey for Sentinel customers in SIM in helping you to continue to transform your SOC with this new unified security operations platform. So we're going to spend a bunch of time on that, and then we're also going to take you through kind of a tour of what you can do day by day in Sentinel and walk you through that. And along the way, there is still some news stuff that I think has probably not been well articulated outside of this session. It's in blogs and so on that we do want to hit, so there might be some new things in here as well. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but just for everybody, we're all security people, so we all know that that attackers continue to attack. I guess if I take a more SIM lens, we continue to see customers who have on-premises SIMs that are just poorly designed for today's hybrid environment, don't have the capacity, can't put inputs in from the cloud sources or the or even just the productivity sources that are in the cloud, let alone the cloud infrastructure sources. So lots of opportunity for folks to consider modernization in that. With that bucket, obviously, there's a few vendors that have acquired other vendors recently, and certainly there's been a lot of interest out of that in our direction as customers are concerned about existing SIM vendor commitment to innovation. As you know, the security environment is fragmented. I think the number was 80 in the keynote, so I should probably update the slide from 50 to 80 in terms of security tools. And so it's really important to bring those all together. And at Microsoft, our model to do that is in the combination of the most effective tools for defenders with AI. And so this notion of being able to protect it at machine speed with AI, and then of course providing experiences that delight our security professionals. And frankly, in the world where user experience is king, you wouldn't say security tools to date have been user experience is king. There's much better tools that you use every day that have great user experience. And it's absolutely one of our big goals is to delight your security teams who use the security tools every day with those user experiences. In fact, we even have dedicated user experience folks who are specifically after that. So that's a big goal for us. We're going to split today's talk into 3 areas. The transforming security operations, once again, the unified experience. We'll show you again the demo of the unified security operations platform. Then protecting with more flexibility, we'll take you through Sentinel's content and how you use that to help protect. And then we'll give you a little bit of insight and some stuff that's coming up to help you further accelerate some migrations if you're interested in from some other legacy vendors. So with that, I will kick into the transforming security operations content. So this slide, frankly, I'm pretty proud about personally, but I guess more than 2 years ago for me personally, I was telling a story to a few people today, so I guess I'll tell it publicly, but we sat down with our engineering teams and we said, we've got a bunch of pieces here that we're pulling together. We've pulled together pretty successfully at this point all this endpoint stuff and cloud app stuff and identity stuff and IoT and so on into an XDR, or we're in the process of shipping that, and it needs to get further matured as it has over the last 2 years. And that's great, but there's a real opportunity for us to go even further because what we know is better security happens when we have more aggregated capabilities working together. And there's also, of course, a vendor consolidation cost dynamic basis to this. And so what if we start breaking down these boundaries between what is a SIM and what is an XDR? And at the time, there was this whole dialogue in the industry around, I'm a SIM vendor and XDR is not relevant because you couldn't possibly have all of the data retained for the longest period of time, and you need it for compliance reasons. Or I'm an XDR vendor, and fundamentally I'm about defense in depth on specific resources that I know, but yeah, you don't need to worry about all the other 300, 400 sources. And so we didn't think that was a very customer-centric dialogue, and we just happened to be in a place where we're well-funded enough to build both of these technologies. But we realized we could really bring them together in a new and unique way. And you've seen us do that in steps. A couple of years ago, we brought bidirectional incidents between SIM and XDR, so you could have the same incident in one versus the other. But what we're announcing this week is fundamentally unification. And this is the destination that we all wanted to head towards, where there are capabilities that exist in things that are market-wise called SIM, or things that are market-wise called XDR. Or, of course, the best attacks are the ones that are prevented as opposed to detected and responded. And so in things like extended posture management, where, by the way, you'll see more from us on that shortly. And of course, all informed by threat intelligence, but it's a single coherent platform. And because it's a single coherent platform, you can run AI up and down the stack, and that AI has just this amazing set of data to make immediate decisions at machine speed to take actions, or to provide recommendations to your security teams so that they can take actions. And you just have more context than you ever had before. Plus, you have then the ability to really spend a lot of time focusing on important work, as opposed to frankly gluing together multiple tools. So that's what our unified security platform is about. I will say today is very exciting for me personally, but it's also just another stop in the journey. We will continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper in the integration of these things. Sentinel is now in the home that is the Defender portal. It's in the home in the right place, but there is much more that we will continue to do to integrate these things together, continue to do with generative AI, and so on. So this is a starting point in the journey, bringing everything together, and lots more to do on that front. But it's also, I think, very unique, and sorry for bearing with me, I just have too much history on this. As we build this unified platform, one of the points I'll make here, because I'm sure there are, you guys use Sentinel, right? People in the audience using Sentinel? Yes, exactly. So maybe the first question you would have to me is, okay, you built this new portal experience, the thing on the right that we'll demo in a bit, but I'm using the thing on the left. And how do I get from the thing on the left to the thing on the right, and is it going to be simple? And that was obviously very important to us in terms of moving forward existing customers. And so actually, Preeti will demonstrate this, but fundamentally, you can continue to use Sentinel in the Azure portal, the thing that's on the left that every one of you uses today, at the same time as the thing on the right. As we're working to migrate in the end analysis. So eventually everything will be on the right-hand side, and there will be one portal, and that is the right-hand side. But in the interim, you will be able to use either experience and go backwards and forwards between either experience, which is pretty cool. So it's not a migration. You literally point a workspace to the new portal, it sucks it in the new portal, but you can continue to use either experience, which was really important to moving further forward. Now, to be fair, the vast majority of our innovation is going to be in the new portal. There's one or two features I'll talk about today that are actually going into have gone into the Azure portal, but you'll see the vast majority of our innovation moving into the unified portal experience moving further forward. And so we'd encourage you when it becomes available, because today it's in private preview. I expect it to be in public preview in Q1 hopefully, but next year sometime I think is the official message. But not far from now we'll be in public preview. And then take it and adopt it and move it further forward. So there'll be a long cycle time in terms of being customer friendly to make this move across portals. And frankly, you've seen us do this many times in the past. We did this with Defender for Endpoint. The guy at the front's laughing. Thank you for laughing at me. I like that. We've consolidated many portals over a period of time in we think, a customer friendly way, making sure we take you along the journey, and we'll apply all the learnings from that as we do. Anyway, with that, I want to introduce Preeti to actually show you the experience. Preeti, go ahead.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ignite and the Sentinel session. Hope you're having a good time. Yeah. Yep. Okay. We'll take that. This is Preeti, and I'm responsible for SIEM and XDR experiences from a product management standpoint. I understand some of you might have already seen this, the unified portal experiences coming in from Rob's breakout session, the keynote, another demo session we had on this. But bear with me, I'll be pivoting this more from a Sentinel user's perspective. So, yeah. With that, this is how you actually go about, this is what's your Defender portal there, and you want to connect your Sentinel workspace. As Scott was mentioning, this is basically like making your Sentinel experiences accessible in Defender portal alongside the XDR experiences. So you go ahead, connect your Sentinel experiences, and there are some design decisions there, and then finally you just end up in the new unified portal experience. This portal experience mainly covers all of Sentinel is there, all of Defender is there, and there are a couple of unified experiences that I'll be drilling into. A, your log search. Where did the logs blade go? That was a part of a Sentinel, right? So that is all available as a part of your advanced hunting capabilities out here, where advanced hunting will actually be giving you ability to hunt across XDR as well as Sentinel data in one view. The second thing is incidents will also not be in this nav because incidents is also unified, and we'll be drilling into that too. So with that, all the other capabilities that you see are all out here. In addition, the homepage now, the Defender homepage now includes Sentinel automation, data connectors, and all of those cards as well to make it like very easy for you to access both your SIEM and XDR capabilities in one view. Let's get into our incidents. When we talk about unified incidents, these are really unified, not only in the queue sense, but also from the perspective of one comprehensive incident across SIEM and XDR. And think about like you might be running, say, Proofpoint alerts in a separate Proofpoint product. You might be having alerts, say, in CrowdStrike for your endpoint. And perhaps like you might be bringing those together in, say, another SIEM like Splunk or so, and kind of like still for details, you might have to juggle through some of these other products too. But when we are actually talking about these, it is actually bringing in XDR and SIEM in one singular incident, which actually, what does that really mean as well? Like XDR has this Microsoft Defender XDR has this attack disruption capability, which means it actually disrupts or contains a threat before it becomes an attack, which is actually pretty cool. And it actually currently just does that for XDR workloads. With this unification, that is expanded out to Sentinel data as well, or non-Microsoft data too. So this pretty much like gets your like completely your threat contained before it becomes an attack. Drilling into this, you'll see a very familiar like kind of timeline view of all your alerts that contributed to this incident. And they're all available here in the single view. This is also very familiar, the entity graph kind of view. We'll actually take you through the Sentinel experiences too so that we can put that in perspective. That's also pretty familiar. The security Copilot, which is an embedded experience in the new unified experiences that we're looking at, versus like for Sentinel, it's a standalone Copilot experience. That's one difference. Here we can see that Jonathan, Copilot actually gives you a lot of information here in terms of what is happening. Mainly Jonathan Walcott is the compromised user, and basically with attack disruption in action, both their SAP account as well as Azure Active Directory account got disrupted. Earlier with just the XDR insights, only disruption was there with AD. Now it's also expanded out to SAP account, which is the non-Microsoft data that's coming in from Sentinel. So that's basically the key scenario out here, and with unification that is very powerful. The second part is like Copilot gives you a lot of guided experiences. You can classify and gives you information that your containment has happened. You can go ahead and investigate this query as well by going to advanced hunting, which pretty much is a unified experience to access both your Defender XDR and Sentinel logs in a single view. So that is also pretty good. And then you can actually even remediate the user with this playbook to just bring the user back to action. And finally, resolve and generate an incident report. Thanks to Copilot, this is actually a pretty tedious job for a SOC analyst. So now SOC analysts can quickly go through and get an incident summary that they can mail out to their CISO and the SOC management team. So pretty much all of these are completely like integrated and aligned. With that, now let's take a look at the side-by-side experiences. For example, like you just can see the Microsoft Sentinel portal experience in Azure portal. And of course, there is also in a side-by-side view, the Defender of Sentinel experiences. You will see all of the threat management, content management, configuration, all of those capabilities that we have is all represented here. And of course, the unified incidents and the logs is with advanced hunting. A similar side-by-side is on incidents, like very, very like similar view in terms of how things are portrayed. And let's actually go through the incident view in Sentinel just to like remind ourselves what are we, like how is it going to be different, and what are we looking at as well. So you can see the incident timeline here as well, and entities information. You can get to the entities graph, of course. But like the logs blade is all integrated here, like there was a pivot to get to advanced hunting logs as well there. And basically, like out here, you can even go and search for your SAP user and pretty much get to the details of your alert as well. And in this case, the user has downloaded some file from an SAP system, and the IP is malicious. So let's look at the IP. You can get Defender Insights. MDTI Insights is Defender for Threat Intelligence Insights on this. And of course, like let's get back to our complete view and run your playbook ultimately and get to your incident actions too. So here you have a few choices. You can go and create your team's channel and investigate as well, and basically like go through that complete path. So these are all our SOC analyst experiences that we have, and yep, over to you, Scott.
Okay, great. Thanks, Preeti. Yeah, there we go. All right. Thank you for being awake at 4 o'clock. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Actually, just maybe that works well in here. Yeah, I'll do it next. I was going to make a comment on the Unified Portal, but I'll make it after here. So now we're going to transition to look more broadly at the capabilities of Sentinel and take you through the life of a security admin effectively using Sentinel. And Preeti's actually going to show you this in the Azure portal. It actually works just fine in the new portal too, but the demo you'll see is in the Azure portal. I did want to step back. I feel like every time, I've been with Sentinel, well, I named Sentinel with my buddy AJ, but we've been with it a long period of time. And over the last several years, the number one question that people asked on Sentinel for a long period of time was, can you connect to my thing? And the answer these days is definitively yes. There's just a massive set of content that's supporting Sentinel at this point with, we don't call them, well, there are connectors, but in addition to connectors, we have workbooks and analytics rules and you name it, Jupyter notebooks and everything else. So there's a really broad set of content that exists to help support you with Sentinel out of the box. And we have more than 196 of those that Microsoft personally, we co-authored, or we authored ourselves. And then more than 335 partners have built Sentinel content on top of that. And then we're just really delighted with the work that the community has done in the open source GitHub in adding another 350. So there are literally thousands of out-of-the-box pieces of content here. And it's exciting to be able to connect a system into the SIM, which was perhaps the old school way to do it. But then to do neat things around the way that you do that, such as these domain-specific packs that work across multiple connectors and give you analytics rules that don't care whether the source is. It's just a DNS thing, and in the back end it abstracts away which DNS thing you're working with. Really helps the productivity of things. So we're really excited with this. Obviously, this is a job that's never done, but Sentinel now has just an incredible source of community and Microsoft-centered out-of-the-box content for all of the Microsoft and, of course, many non-Microsoft, many non-Microsoft sources that you need to use a SIM today. With that, of course, you will be sucking data into Sentinel. And there's lots of things you can do to think about optimizing that. Obviously, you can transform data up front before it goes into Sentinel. You can pick which data goes in and has high security value or not. You can use multiple different log tiers within Sentinel to store at different levels of analytic capability and retrieval speeds. All of those options are available. But frankly, what we found, especially for customers coming from on-premises, but in general, is that because Sentinel is an endless bucket that you can put any data in, security teams tend to do that. And they just put every piece of data in. And then there's a wake-up moment at some point where the person with the budget comes by and says, perhaps we should go look at that and optimize that. And well, like, I don't mind, because I guess my business model is based on data. It would not be customer-centric for me to not help you on that. There was too many negatives. We're going to help you optimize your data that you put into Sentinel by giving you very specific recommendations of what data we think does and does not have security value, so that if you are under budget pressure and you do need to make a decision to do less data, that you know these are the tables that are perhaps less security value based on what you've seen in your environment today. And so this cost analysis example, or similar to the cost management stuff in Azure, if any of you live in that world, is just one example of a broad set of capabilities we're adding to Sentinel, just getting started, called SOC optimizations, where we know the essence of a SIEM platform is it's super flexible and you can do anything you want. We know that you don't want it locked down, but we also know that you want prescriptive guidance, and we can help you with that prescriptive guidance more than before. So an example is this optimizing, giving you visibility, it's hard to read here, but giving you visibility into tables that might not be used a whole lot, and suggesting you can choose to continue to ingest or not. Another example is actually where you are ingesting a table, but you do not have some good analytics rules on top of it. So the data exists, you're not applying the right analytics on top of it to get the security value out of it. We'll suggest you turn on some analytics rules to move on that. So that's the second thing here. You can also imagine, I'm inventing features, not committing Preeti to this, but you can also imagine things like customers like you imported, you don't have any email security data going in your SIEM, and customers like you do. And so this notion of recommendations for new data sources that would potentially improve your security, that isn't here today, but those are the types of things, the first two being here today, that we're excited to do to help you continue to have all the flexibility you have. You make the choices, but to help you work through that. So to kind of bring these together and to do this in the life of, I think Anna, right, is your SOC engineer who's responsible for architecting the SIEM. Oh, and just give me 1 second, Preeti, I forgot one thing. Oh. I'm going to get Preeti to walk you through, again, the Azure portal. All of this also exists in the Sentinel portal. The one thing, just so you know, because you may have questions, I'll do it here. There is no change to the business model of Sentinel or the business model of Defender or any business model as a result of today's announcement. So none of the business models change. It's a technology announcement, because I had that question. I just want to make sure I covered it. Okay, with that, let's go.
Thanks, Scott. And yeah, now we just looked at all the SOC analyst experiences in Azure portal, the unified portal and all. Now let's just switch over to a SOC engineer persona or experience. And in this case, we have Anna as a SOC engineer, and she works for Contoso as her enterprise. She actually has there are multiple scenarios. One is going to be like a key challenge to start onboarding data and start getting value from that data immediately. So the first point is going to be like going to Content Hub and discovering solutions for a need that includes like data connectors, analytic rules that Contoso would need, and more content that Contoso can benefit from. So out here, she can quickly see what all our solutions are there. There are over 300 plus solutions that covers Microsoft and non-Microsoft products and services, cloud services, identity, a bunch of compliance, and so on. And of course, like standalone content items too from our community contributors. These solutions are supported by partners and as well as Microsoft as well. So she can actually pivot her search to just solutions at this point, just so that we can start looking into that. And there are a bunch of solutions that she can see out here. Now, Contoso is a multi-cloud tenant, and they are using Azure already. As we can see, Anna has already onboarded that and installed, but they also have Amazon and GCP too. So they're going to go ahead and Anna's going to select these and then install it. Bulk install is very quick, so it just enables you to install everything in a single click. And the same capability can be used for update as well. And looks like we've gotten our solutions installed. Now let's get to our Google Cloud platform solution. This includes a data connector, a bunch of analytic rules, etc. Manage actually enables you to manage the content or out-of-box content templates that this solution installed on the tenant, so on the workspace. So here, like, she'll go ahead and she can get to the data connector to enable it. Pretty much the data connector page opens up. Now, this specific data connector is actually a connector built out of the codeless connector platform, which is Microsoft Sentinel native polar capability, and that can enable at-scale ingest from different sources of data. So here she can go and get her information added, like her GCP project and the numbers and the service account, and just connect in a single click and see the data flowing out here. So it's the native polar capability makes it super simple for anyone to connect and bring ingested data into Sentinel easily. Now, going back, we can see that there was a warning signal, kind of a symbol, the triangle, orange triangle that was there to connect the data. Now it's turned to in use. Now she can go ahead and turn her analytic rules, because you have to turn on the data source before you can start enabling analytics that runs on top of that data, or even start executing hunting queries that operate on top of the data or workbooks as well. So she configures this analytic rule. So this one is a disable data access login. It's interesting, actually, from a point of correlating it in incidents to see what kind of data accesses were disabled. So she goes ahead and creates a rule out of this. So these are templates. So basically, she needs to go and activate a rule, and she can change the text of this as needed, and also set the rule logic. This gives the capability for her to customize the rule if she wants to. She has a template that she can build upon and customize to her needs, to Contoso's needs. Or the other thing is she can even go ahead and use it as it is. And that's the beauty of out-of-box content. You can use it as it is, or you can customize and get a head start on your onboarding to Sentinel very quickly. So automated response is yet another one where you can actually take proactive measures on your alert before the alert turns into an incident. So this actually reduces a lot of the alert fatigue, and connecting playbooks or automation rules is easily possible in this case, and makes it super valuable from an alert fatigue standpoint. So she goes ahead, the rules get validated, and then the save operation also validates extra options. The validation passes. This validation is also important, because if you don't validate, then this validation happens behind the scenes in Sentinel. If this doesn't happen, then you again get more noise in your alerts. So it's very important to ensure that you have the right things there. So getting back to her analytics options, like we can see that her rule got created, and all the custom rules are shown in one view for her to manage, and these are all enabled too. Going back to Content Hub, Anna has yet another scenario where she wants to, Contoso has a bunch of networking products, and she wants to monitor those at scale. And that's where the essential solutions or the domain-based solutions come to the rescue. So here she can, the network essential solution is a type of generic solution or domain-based solution, as we call it. And these class of essential solutions can operate, the content can operate on multiple data sources of Microsoft, non-Microsoft products at scale. So in this case, the same detection or analytic rule can operate on AWS, on Azure Firewall, on Checkpoint, on Cisco ASA, on Palo Alto Firewall, and so on. You name it, later 20 things out here, and it'll keep expanding as well as we build more and more, and as we expand the scope on this. So there are two other essential solutions. There's DNS Essentials, as well as a new Web Sessions Essentials solution. So do check it out. So she can go and manage this, and of course, like she can go and start activating some of these items. But in this case, like she wants to immediately monitor all the firewalls that Contoso has. So Network Sessions Essentials workbook is there, which actually shows all the data sources that Contoso has enabled, and the view template just shows her all the network context across all the network sources. So the thing is, if Contoso onboards Corelight tomorrow, Anna doesn't have to go and enable yet another analytic rule or customize her workbook and add yet another source, right? This automatically scales to it. So the Corelight data will also show up in this automatically. So that's basically like getting more value for your data in general. With that, let's get back to our Sentinel experiences, and let's move to Anna has yet another challenge. Now, this is where like we all are faced with this challenge of doing more with less. And this is where SOC optimization comes to our rescue. So SOC optimization, as Scott mentioned, gives you capabilities to get maximum security value out of your existing data. And the second value that you also get is minimize your costs by offboarding data that you don't need in your enterprise. So we'll see how Anna can benefit from this and use this capability. Going to SOC optimization, this is a new experience. You see it in Azure portal. You have the same experience in the Unified Defender portal as well. So out here, there is one recommendation out here where you can improve your coverage against business email compromise. So let's take a look at this. You can see that there are Contoso has a big hole in their coverage for detections, and there are a bunch of content that can be onboarded to increase the security value of the data that that Contoso has. So Anna can go to Content Hub based on the recommendation and get precisely the set of content items that she needs to enable to get full value for her data. So in this case, she goes to our the first one, and then this is basically a URL click in phishing emails, which is actually a very common pattern because phishing emails are getting very legit nowadays, and it's very, very easy for any employee to go ahead and click as well some of these and then get compromised or compromise the enterprise actually. So in this case, like she goes ahead and activates this and configures as we went through the process, and similarly she can configure all the other analytics too, just as we looked at in the earlier demo. Goes back to optimization, and now since she's taken action on this, she can go and complete this action and get that card away. Now the next thing that prompts her is the low usage of storage blob logs table. Now storage blob logs is something that there are two options out here that we can see here. There are one of two suggestions. Looking into this, we can see that either you can add more analytic rules and increase the security value of the data, or she can save money by changing the data plan itself. Since we actually just explored this first option, let's go to the change plan option. And here she has an option to go and change the table to kind of be in the analytics log or like move it to basic logs. So there are at least 3 log tiers in Sentinel that's supported. Mainly you have the analytics logs or the hot storage where you run your key alerts and incidents, and that's basically the high value like running for near real time scenarios that you do. The second tier is actually basic tier. So basic tier is where you can actually retain your logs for 8 days or move it to archive for retaining it for 7 years. And archive is like really cheap logs, basically. And you use that for your auditing purposes. And also, if you want to just push it out for compliance auditing, go ahead and change that and basically like get it there and change your retention. So moving it to archive can really save a lot of costs in terms of for such scenarios where you don't get too much of security value out of the data. Now she goes back to SOC optimization, and she can complete this one as well and basically get the value of cost value out of the data. So mainly so summarize cost, SOC optimization gives you 2 values: get maximum security value out of your data, or optimize your costs by offboarding data that you don't need. So all of these are like SOC engineering experiences that the enterprise can benefit from. That also gives value to your SOC analyst experiences. Cool. Thank you. Over to you.
Yay, thanks,
Scott.
Preeti.
Thank you.
All right, pretty cool stuff. So we have one more slide, and then we'll open up to questions. Actually, Lizzie, you want to throw me a couple, then we'll go to the audience once we get there. So let's talk about migrations. Obviously the SIM market is fairly well penetrated with existing SIMs, and so as a result, many customers for many years have been moving from something to something, something to Sentinel. Frankly, Splunk has been one of those primary things. We spent a lot of time over the last 18 months or so working with partners, obviously since the history of Microsoft had Sentinel, but in particular over the last 18 months, working with partners, really understanding what it takes to do a Splunk migration. And in doing that, learned that there's the opportunity to provide some tooling to help accelerate that. And so as we go into early next year, not yet available, we're going to have some migration tooling that will be available that will enable you to look at your Splunk, map out use cases of Splunk content into Sentinel content. And so you can see content that exists in Sentinel and it exists in Splunk and map those together. And in cases where the mapping is imperfect, you can take SPL to KQL, so you can map Splunk query language to KQL using generative AI. You've seen us do natural language to KQL. It's the same type of thing. And then once that's completed, the user can pick and choose the content that you want to enable in Sentinel based on the results of the tool. So we're excited about this tool. We want to be super clear. Those of you who've done migrations, there's no 5-minute migration for SIM. That's not what this is. But it absolutely is an accelerator to enable you to move from a Splunk system to a Sentinel system by accelerating the work that you need to do in part of that. So the first release of this, as I said, coming early next year. We don't think we'll stop with just Splunk, just as a side. I'm not ready to announce additional partners, but we recognize that or additional SIMs, but we recognize there's other folks that customers want to move off. So I will take this and get customer feedback on how helpful it is to you and continue to evolve it, but we're also looking at other potential things as we respond to feedback. So with that was the planned content for the session. As promised, we have 8 or 9 minutes for questions, hopefully, if you want to participate in them. Were there any in Pubble that are worth sharing, if that mic works?
Yeah, we have a lot of questions in Pubble. One is, do we need an additional license for XDR?
Do we need an additional license? So just to be clear, if all you're using is Sentinel, when it's in the Defender portal, you do not need to buy E5 or any XDR things. So you can buy just Sentinel, just consumption, and it'll land there. Having said that, Preeti's going to correct me and say that for our early adopter program, this very, very minute, the customer use case that we've solved for is in fact a customer that owns both Microsoft 365 Defender and Sentinel. And her team is working hard at enabling what I just described so that when we get to GA, if you're a Sentinel-only customer, that will work just fine. As you'd imagine, that takes a little bit more engineering work on our side. So no, you will not require an XDR license. Did you want to add to it?
Yeah, it's actually Defender XDR E5 is what we are supporting now. So yeah.
Today?
Yes, today.
Yeah.
Just today, yes.
Yeah.
And you're correct.
Yes.
Thanks. Another one is, when can we see SOC optimizations added to Sentinel?
It is already added to, it's in private preview on both Azure portal as well as Defender portal. So that's where, and the unified Defender portal, I'd say.
Are you going to commit to a public preview date?
Let's do next year.
Okay.
Next year.
That was vague.
Oh, well, you also said that.
Should we sign us up for Q1 or Q2? It'll be Q1 or Q2.
Yeah.
It won't be Q3 or Q4 for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and as you saw, this is the one feature actually I suspect that is going in the Azure portal as well as in the as well as in the new portal. Just to be super clear, Copilot will not be in the Azure portal. It will only be in the new portal experience.
And to add to it, like if you want access to the private preview, do join the private preview program. There are steps to doing that, and we'll put something in the Pubble or so that Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sign up through the field, or just go talk to Kim and twist her arm.
Oh, no.
Other questions?
Yeah.
They couldn't hear the questions on online, if you want to repeat the question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That makes sense. So the first question that I answered was, do we require an XDR license people in the room, do we require an XDR license to buy Sentinel now that it's in the Defender portal? And the answer is no, we do not require an XDR license to buy Sentinel. That is not a requirement. And then we added that today in early access, the only supported use case is actually for customers who own both, but that will be fixed at GA.
The second question was on optimization availability for Sentinel customers and in Azure portal. And yeah, it's available in private preview in both the portals. And then we'll get to public next year.
And I can repeat any question from the room. I'm breaking all the rules by asking questions from the room, but it's fun, so let's do it.
Is there, if we're not using Sentinel right now, is there any reason to wait to start using it until you've done this new portal?
Thank you for asking that question. You guys are creating this whole new portal. It looks totally cool and new, but will it be chaos for me if I'm an existing customer? And should I just wait if I'm a new customer? You should not wait. The experience that Preeti showed was you have the Azure portal, you say new workspace in the new portal, and both work at the same time. So this will be a seamless experience where you will get more capabilities. I will say if you're an existing customer, there is some amount of retraining required because we had a unified incident queue in Sentinel that looks a little different than the unified incident queue in Microsoft Defender XDR. We had to choose, we had two things, we had to consolidate that to one. So there is some retraining in terms of where things are. But there's absolutely no reason to wait with an existing Sentinel install. All of your data, all of everything will just work by design. And thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, we'll repeat the question actually.
And the question, did I not do that? I'm so sorry. And the question was, should I wait on Sentinel until you've done the new work? And will it be painful for me to migrate from the old portal to the new portal? And no, you shouldn't wait. And yes, it will be seamless.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I can take that.
Ask
the question is, are there unified assets like watch lists and risks in the unified portal experience, right? So for that one, we have unified entities that is landed in the unified experience with SIEM and XDR entities like IP. Users are also covered. Cloud assets is something that is getting covered as well as a part of that. We'll be looking into more of the assets, and the watch lists are Sentinel watch lists available, and expanding it to a unified experience in the XDR will be the next step there. So some of them are there, some of them will be coming in.
Yeah, you'll see more unification over time. Sir?
Yeah.
If we use the optimization, we move data from analytics into basic.
Mm-hmm.
Then later on, an analytics rule is created that kind of then says, hey, you should move this back into analytics. Do we have the capability to hydrate that back in?
That's so the question is basically like you make a decision based on optimize to move your log tier, switch your log tier from analytics to basic. And if you have an analytics rule, then that pops up. Is there a way to come back from basic to analytics? So your analytic rules actually will run on the analytics tier only, by the way. So the basic tier is available for your investigational purposes and all, up to like the 8 days retention thing, and beyond that it's all archive. So you can pull in logs into the analytics based on some investigation capabilities, right? Like investigation that your team did, you can pull it back into analytics so that future alerts can run and alerting can happen on it. That will be the way to get it.
And actually, just can I make sure I understood that? I think the situation is if you put data in archive and also basic logs, then you can pull it back in, which is what you're asking, into analytics logs in the moment when you need to do it. Correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, just go. Whoever wants to go, go. Yeah.
What about people that have a shared SOC? So some MSSP with Lighthouse
Mm-hmm.
and using also the Sentinel itself. Is that already covered in the unified? Can we continue to do that?
This is the ninth time I'm actually okay. I'll ask the question.
Ask the question and then
so if I'm an
question.
MSSP and I'm managing this the experiences through like Sentinel multi-workspace experience through Lighthouse, then how will this work in the unified portal experience? This is I think the ninth time I'm hearing this. So
it's important
today, So today it is actually a single workspace that we have. in the unified portal. That's what we're starting with. That said, like tomorrow, not literally tomorrow, but over time, like we'll definitely expand it out to multi-workspace. That's top of mind. Since I think we are hearing a lot of votes on that.
Yeah, I mean, we're clear we need to do that. We also independently in the Defender world have been doing a lot of work on RBAC and multi-tenancy, and so that work gets reusable now as opposed to having to build it twice.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, part of the timing things is we want to make sure we're using a single way of doing it across all things XDR and SIM moving further forward in the same experience. But we totally know we need to do that. Yeah. Awesome.
In 1 year from now, it might get plugged again. Will those tasks reappear, or will you get more optimization suggestion down the road, or since you picked it as completed, it's done?
Great question.
That's a great question. So how does SOC optimization, like if you mark it as completed and down the road, if it still comes up, would it show it up as a recommendation, or you miss out on it is the question, right? So there are 3 options there. Actually, I should have covered this. Thank you for reminding while I was talking through the demo. There are 3 options that you can take in the card. One is basically completing the action, like if you completed it, or dismissing the action, saying that you don't, this doesn't apply to me, and go ahead and dismiss it. Third is you can even give feedback so that the system can get trained to give you the right optimization insights over time. So these are the 3 options you have the ability to take it, so that you keep on like seeing the right signals tuned to your digital estate. Any other questions?
Awesome. Well, look, we appreciate all of you for coming and listening to us. We'd love to help you with anything, and in particular, if you're a Sentinel customer or considering, thank you. We really, really appreciate it. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us.